also have another very special guest who's just arrived. His name is Steve Christie, and Steve is an author of a book that we're going to talk all about. And tell us a little more, Andrea, about Steve.
It's called Not Really of Us. Why do children of Christian parents abandon the faith? And he has actually, in the last year, been on many radio stations. I'm going to say it probably wrong, Bob Duco show.
You said it right.
Yeah, the senior bodyguard right here on ProclaimFM. He's been out in Romania with his wife preaching, and most recently has become a chaplain at the YMCA, which is going to be such a blessing for those students, because the reason I'm going to say, I'm sure that you wrote this book, is that you don't want to see those kids abandon their faith. So if you're at the Y and can speak life into them, you will hopefully avoid this. So what prompted you to write this book, Not Really of Us, Why Children of Christian Parents Abandon the Faith? Steve?
Well, first I want to say thank you to Mark and Andrea and to your sister as well for having me back on the show. I can't believe it's been almost a year, so thank you. Yeah. And it's amazing, like you said, what the Lord has actually done over the last year. But as you mentioned, I wrote this book because of the alarming statistic of the high percentage of kids growing up in the church who have left the church in their 20s, and the statistic is 2 out of 3 kids. That's nearly 70%.
Yeah.
And it's significant to this generation known as the millennials, those ages 20 to 29 years old who were in the church just 10 years ago and they're walking away from the faith. And the reason why I wrote it for is there's been relatively little written on the topic in book form over the last 15 to 20 years. And what has been written is only generalized articles about how to raise your kids, and they try to draw out a single conclusion that's not necessarily biblical. Like, for instance, one I read said that it was because they were actually brought up in a Christian church. That's why they're walking away from the faith, but which there's no biblical significance. And one didn't provide any assurance at all, saying not only do you can't be assured that your kids won't walk away from the faith, you yourself don't know you can walk away from the faith. And the Apostle John said you can have assurance of your salvation based on what's written. Plus, in the book, it's new, it's fresh. Like I said, it's been out less than a year. There's scripturally supported statistics, specific interviews of kids who have walked away from the faith, and why. Because a lot of times parents don't know why they walk away from the faith, and the kids themselves don't even realize their actual doubts. And it's written from almost a non-Christian perspective, because I even talk about some of my own doubts before I became a Christian, so that kids can not only relate to it, but they'll be surprised how much they can actually agree with it.
So tell us, I'm sure the question is burning on everybody's mind then is, give us some ideas, for example, from the book. Why do kids walk away from the faith?
Well, part of the reason is a fact is that they're actually influenced by their culture, and what happens is that they're brought up, and I talk about the parable of the 4 soils and the 4 types of soils that represent the hearts of specific children, such as the wayside child, that they have superficial and intellectual belief, but it's not sown permanently into their hearts. The rocky child that they receive with immediate joy, but then they experience trials and tribulations. Their faith is tested, and then they walk away. And then there's the thorny child, where they're seduced by the joys of the world, but as Jesus says, that then they come overcome by the deceitfulness of wealth in the world, and they buy into a lot of the false things that are told, like it's just a bunch of stories, rather than the fact that it's actual based on real history. They think there's errors and contradictions in the Bible, which there's none. Or a lot of times they'll say, well, there's a lot of immoral Christians. Well, there's a lot of immoral other people. There's immoral nurses, there's immoral lawyers, there's immoral doctors. But that doesn't mean that the entire profession, or in this case, a Christian faith, is immoral.
Well, so parents may be listening and may be saying, okay, I can see some of those traits in my own kids. Help! How do I keep my kids in the faith?
Yeah, and I go into that, like there's more in the book, and like I said, you have to tell them that there's a difference between opinion and truth. And while opinion is valuable, truth is necessary, which is what I mentioned in the book. And the kids don't want to just know that the Christian faith is true, but they want to know why it's true, which again, I go into more detail in the book, to use this as an aid and a tool to parents to work with their children, and even church leaders.
And it just reminds me of that new song, just about the prodigal, and that's what we're doing. We're always praying for that. And this is a family-friendly and uplifting station, so that's why we thought it was vital to have Steve in, because there's parents right now that are like myself in the midst of raising children. We don't want to make any of the mistakes that would lead them astray later. And then there's others that have children, grown adults like Mark does. So what the reason we wanted to have you in today is because you are doing you are available for speaking engagements. Your one coming up is on August 2nd at Faith Baptist Church, so you can go hear more about this. He also has one on November 8th, but if your church has a small group or wants to do an event to learn more about this, and what I love is that it's biblically sound. That when you were here a year ago, you said almost everything you did, you went right back to the truth, and that's where you said opinion's one thing, but truth is the other, and the truth comes from the Bible, not your opinion, Steve Christie. So that's what I really like about the book.
So Steve, where can folks get your book?
Well, what they can do is that they can go directly to my website. It's called NotReallyOfUs.com. You can find more information there, including the book signings, speaking engagements. There's contact information where you can contact me directly. And as Andrea had mentioned about the speaking engagements, if you go there, you'll get a signed copy of the book, and I'll be offering a 25% discount off the cover at both of those locations, as well as anywhere else I would speak, as well as free resources that are from the book. You get the book, there's a link where you actually get additional free resources as well. The book is also available at Family Christian Store on Secor near Sylvania, as well as Rieger's Church Supplies across the street. But go to my website, NotReallyOfUs.com. I also have a Facebook page and a Twitter page as well, and I also want the opportunity to let everybody know that this Sunday is going to be me and Lucia's 1-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Yay!
So happy anniversary, Lucia, and sweetheart, I love you.
Wow.
I love you
His
too.
wife's
Happy
standing right there.
anniversary.
And we love
She's
her.
melting.
When
Yeah.
I went to Bolivia, she took Jet and I to Walmart and purchased so many things for the students that we were going to. I packed an entire suitcase of gifts for the kids.
Wow.
And I would say
That
hers
was
was about
nothing.
a fourth of it. She got an Ohio State towel and said someone in Bolivia needs to know someone from Ohio State came and
Oh,
loved
that's
on them.
wonderful.
So thank you so very much.
Oh,
You got a
you're
good
very
woman there.
welcome.
Well, Steve,
God
again,
bless
thanks
you.
for being here. So appreciate your book. One more time, what's your website?
The website is NotReallyOfUs.com. You can contact me there and get more information.
All right. Thank you, Steve, for being here. Traffic and weather just around the corner.
All right.